Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we explore the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Milan Kord, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced, the lessons learned, and the strategies fueling future growth. Today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by Rachel Lawrence, a founder, confidence, and authority mentor, book coach, brand strategist, speaker, and author. She helps ambitious women and creative entrepreneurs, especially those in midlife, reset their mindset, build unshakable confidence, own their voice, and craft magnetic personal brands that drive impact, visibility, and income. Drawing on over 20 years of coaching experience, she guides clients to ditch imposter syndrome, publish books, and channel midlife wisdom into their most iconic era yet. With that being said, Rachel, let me officially welcome you to Founders Future.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me today.
It's a pleasure to have you on. Beautiful. Let's dive into the conversation. What I love to do with every single one of my guests is a bit of traveling back in time. So before you even had the company, what were you doing before? And then eventually, what was the motivation for starting the company?
So my journey into this work began around about 2009. I had just donated my kidney to my now ex-husband, and we were going through a divorce. And I was 29 years old and experiencing my first ever breakdown. And it was a horrible, horrible, challenging time for me, very lost, very confused, very sad. And it was through going through that process that I felt very lonely and I had to find some help from somewhere. So I got some therapy. I dove straight into personal development. Personal development found me and I started reading lots of books. And it was through that journey of reading books that I found a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And that was a really strong tool to help me navigate through a lot of depression and anxiety and all the horrible things that I was feeling at that time. And it was such a powerful book that alongside my therapy, it helped transform my mindset. And as a result of that, I decided to write to the author, the late Susan Jeffers now, and just say, wow, what a powerful book, amazing. I'm so pleased that I came across it and it's helped save my life essentially. So she wrote back to me and said, would you be interested in training to become a Feel the Fear trainer? And back then I'd had a career in recruitment and sales, and I'd never really done any kind of training or anything like that. But I was feeling that recruitment wasn't really my vibe because I was terrible at sales. So I thought, okay, why not? Let's pivot into something else. And so I trained as a Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway trainer. And at the same time, trained to become a mental health first aider and a mental health instructor to go into organizations and train staff on mental ill health and things like that. And it was such a wonderful part of my life. It was a wonderful journey of healing, growth, and helping other people. And through that, I realized that my work was very much positioned into helping others and thought leadership and purpose. And so from that moment, I kind of built the business, was doing a lot of training and a lot of life coaching, got qualified as a life coach, and just started to help lots of women who were navigating similar things as to what I've gone through. Not necessarily kidney donation at that point, but divorce and relationship breakdown and, navigating career pivots and those kind of things. So that's how I got started into life coaching.
Man, this is a strong opening, though. I mean, Rachel, you've been through a lot, like career-wise, personal struggles, career, everything else. And also, I'm pretty sure as you got into the world of business, everybody experiences a lot of pivoting and adjusting along the way, right? Like the journey through business is never linear. So I'm pretty sure it took a lot even for you to get some clarity in terms of, okay, but what is it specifically that I want to do? Who is this for? How to be very clear on what this is going to look like company-wise. So we're going to talk about all of that and uncover it like one by one, because going into this part of the podcast, my goal is very clear. I just want to build some clarity for our audience in terms of who is it currently exactly that you're trying to help out right now,
Yeah.
but also what are the core offerings that you have in place for your clients. So tell us all about it.
So my work pivoted again post-pandemic. And I realized that as a midlife woman, I was facing some unique challenges in terms of confidence and visibility. And my work was pivoting from just life coaching into helping midlife women navigate confidence and being visible online because post pandemic, I had kind of cocooned myself a little bit and didn't really want to be seen online or anything like that for no particular reason other than just feelings that I was having and things changing within myself. And I realized that life coaching is a wonderful career, but I wanted to help more people, specifically midlife, help women navigate their confidence and stepping into visibility and ditching the imposter syndrome. And so I kind of created my own framework called Reset Your Mind, which was to help women reset after any life-changing event that they go through. And then from there, I got picked by a publisher to write my next book. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear on this podcast because it has,
Yes, you are.
yeah. So it's called Confident as Fuck, and it is very much for midlife women. And so my work navigated into a confidence framework. So we reset the mind, we step into confidence, we ditch imposter syndrome, and then BrandHER Edit was born, which is my framework for building a personal brand. So using all of your wisdom, your stories, your life experiences, and shaping that into a personal brand of who you are now, not who you were 10, 15 years ago. So that's how my work has pivoted in the last few years and through writing my books in the last 2 years and then starting BrandHER Edit, very much helping midlife women to step into their confidence, ditch imposter syndrome, and build their personal brand.
Yeah, I love this because you're tackling several of the biggest issues or the biggest questions that people in business have to navigate, which I love that. And with you mentioning that you created your own framework, I would assume at least that this has become really like the core offering that you take your clients through, right? Like there is a certain journey that every single clients go through. So I want to bring some clarity on that. Obviously, everybody in your industry has a different sort of structure. Some do like one-offs. Some people do like, okay, you're going to work with me for the next 9 months, whatever the case might be. Let's talk about what it looks like for your clients to actually work with you and have them have you as their coach or a mentor. What does the journey look like?
So essentially, I have a funnel in loosely worded terms, and it starts with reading my books because if I'm going to market a woman, they need to be able to believe in themselves. And depending on where they are on their journey, they might not feel confident or ready to be so visible. So essentially, we start there. We start with reading the books, helping them get into their confidence and their visibility by working one-to-one with me or in a group setting in one of my group coaching sessions that we do. And then if they want to continue that work and really build their business or their personal brand, then they'll step into something that's a little bit more high ticket and with working with me very much one to one in a group scenario or one to one. Usually my group scenarios tend to be up to 10 people at one time because I like to be able to really get to know my clients and really work with them over a period of a few months so that we can see the transformation, we can deal with any wobbles along the way, and that circle then becomes their support network because they're all at different levels. Women come to me at all different levels in their journey, and everyone starts helping themselves. And it's so powerful. The transformation's amazing that we see in the group. And I certainly feel that for 2026 moving forward, in-person events are going to get bigger and more powerful to help people, midlife women especially, reconnect with who they are, because we need community now more than ever. And I can see that, a lot of people do ask me, when's your next in-person event, things like that. So essentially it starts with reading my books and then they can work with me one-to-one or step into a group like workshop, or then we can go straight into my branding mastermind.
Yeah, I think both of those things, the events, but also the group coaching, that's a hugely beneficial thing for people. I mean, it has been scientifically proven that there is a lot of benefits when we're trying to learn something, personal development, and I'm doing it in a community. There is a lot of other people going through the same journey, similar issues, so it's just very beneficial though. But this can be a very, very huge step for anybody running this kind of project, being in business. And a lot of people in a similar position are still on a fence of whether they should launch a group model or whether they should stick to one-on-ones. So I just want to pick your brains on this. And what would you say was like the pivotal moment for you where you basically had the conversation with yourself and you were like, okay, you need to do it in a group setting? What was the motivation behind it?
One of my challenges in this business is being able to reach a lot of people with the same depth that I like to bring to the table with my one-to-one. And I can't be spread too thin. I've got a lot going on in my life. But in order to be able to reach as many people as possible, I knew I had to step into the group coaching model. And I'm working on digital courses and things like that now, so that people still get access to me and my wisdom and my knowledge, um, but kind of understand that in a group scenario, it's not diluted. You're still going to learn from other people as well as myself. And that was the key messaging for me, was to let go a little bit of that control. And when we're doing these sessions, let people chime in if they've got something that's going to be really helpful to say to my ladies in my sessions, and just kind of let go of that control a little bit. And it could just be one word or one sentence that I say or that someone else says that they get the maximum transformation from. And I've seen that time and time again. And that was kind of the key time for me when I noticed that was happening more and more, that I was able to say, right, group coaching is definitely the way to go. And in-person events, they already are back, but they're coming back even more, because it's just so nice to have that, to eyeball someone, to see their authenticity. And I didn't want to lose that. I was afraid of losing that in a group scenario, that, you know, you don't get that authenticity, but you do. You really do, because you're still meeting people intimately. They're still sharing their issues and their problems with you in a group scenario. People don't seem to be afraid of that if you're setting the space up right to begin with.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Again, there is a lot of benefits to this. One huge thing is obviously the ability to impact a lot of people at the same time, have a bigger reach. But also it makes a lot of sense though, when you look at this thing from the perspective of a business owner, right? It's just more scalable. This is a big question for a lot of people in your industry. And I also want to talk about what's happening on the back end side of the business, because that is very closely connected. Now, in terms of making all of this happen, obviously you have to have some certain like client acquisition system in place, right? So my question is, what is currently happening on the front of your marketing, and maybe specifically generating those contacts and leads for yourself to make this happen in the first place?
It was really important to me that I do I say what I teach, and that was stepping into my own visibility, my own founder-led content. I really believe in that. I really believe in showing up online every day and sharing your stories, what's happening, your day-to-day processes, how you're doing things. I don't like to gatekeep. I think for a lot of people, to learn from someone is your first interaction with them, and how they learn to trust you and things like that. So first and foremost, I very much leave with founder-led content. If people want more from me, then obviously they can read my books. I've just started my podcast. They can access me through my podcast. But I learned very much last year, and I spent a lot of time, a few months, really systemizing my processes. So clients still get me, they still get access to me, but my processes are completely systemized now. And that took a lot of pressure off, because I'm still very much founder led in terms of my team. I'm just about to step into recruiting a team for operations and social media and things like that. But in the beginning, when you're first starting, I believe you have to do quite a few of the things yourself to learn, number one, how to do it, to step into that confidence, getting really confident showing up online, and understanding where all the time goes with every single thing that you do in your day. Where does all the time go? What are the things that are not income producing that you should actually now start to outsource? But in the beginning, you have to do most of these things yourself to work out where the value is. So if I'm going to outsource it, I know exactly how long it should take. I know, the level of things it's going to need from me to put something out there. So I know how much roughly it should cost. And that's really important when you're first starting. But there is a point, and there is a very fine line, where you have to start implementing a team before you're ready. I don't think you're ever ready. I just think you have to let go of the strings a little bit, but you do need to start outsourcing things. And that's probably where I'm at right now. And I'm literally just about to start recruiting my team now that I've got my systems in place. I know that I can bring them on board. It's all very self-explanatory, and they, with a little bit of mentorship from me, they should be able to just roll with it and help with my onboarding process, getting more people through, but still having that interaction with me so it still feels personable rather than too systemized.
Oh, I'm definitely going to circle back to this though, because you just mentioned several great points. And also, just so you know, delegation has really become like one of the biggest topics on the podcast here. So I'm
Right.
definitely going to circle back to this. But one thing that I want to ask you about, as you were talking about the strategies that are in place in terms of generating leads and having the presence of social media, everything we've mentioned is either on the side of organic reach or maybe some strategic partnerships, doing something in real life, the events, whatever the case might be. Now, when it comes to this, obviously, strategies like word of mouth referrals, we all know how good of a lead that is. That's quite an easy deal to close. But at the same time, typically there is a lot of frustration when it comes to the inconsistency of those sources. So, my question is, first of all, would you agree with me that there is a lot of inconsistency? And then, how do you deal with it? Have you maybe dabbled into paid ads or anything else that would allow you to create something more predictable?
So I do agree with you for sure. The up and downs of sometimes you see your content landing, sometimes you see it doesn't land at all. And then that sows the seed of self-doubt and you start to maybe get a bit of imposter syndrome and then maybe you don't show up the next day. So it's very much, like this. And that's not consistent enough if you're very serious about your business. So middle part of last year, I undertook a PR training course to learn how to do my own PR and to start getting media listening to what I was saying and to get, into local magazines and things like that. And I thought that was going to be a really hard process, and it wasn't. So I do believe in employing PR companies and having them help you. But when you're first starting, you might not have the funds to be able to do that. So I didn't, and I wanted to learn how to do it again to understand the value of employing someone to do all that for me. So I learned how to do PR and I started reaching out to magazines. I just got featured in December in a really big magazine here in the UK. I've got an article that I'm writing for another huge magazine this month, and I've got a lot of podcasts that I've been outreaching to go and be a guest on their podcast because I think the more people hear your voice, they hear your story, they hear your journey, and they can relate to you. I think that kind of content is really going to be even more important this year. And certainly for a founder and someone who's first starting, it's your cheapest route to happiness. It doesn't cost you anything.
Very true. I
And when
love
you're
how you
first
said it
starting,
multiple times, though, about going through that journey yourself and learning everything by yourself. Because this is what I see very often, like hiring prematurely. But this is the way to go about it, though. Like you have to go through the process yourself so that there is a different level of understanding what needs to happen in order for this to work, right? So once you go through all of it and you know that, okay, well, this specific strategy is in place and it's working, then it's quite easy to just create some sort of SOPs and some instructions, hire somebody else, and then just be like, hey, this is what I figured out. It really
yeah,
works. Just follow the instructions and we're good. Right. So
yeah,
I love that.
100%.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Now,
So
when it comes to the, sorry, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say another thing that I'm experimenting with is quizzes as well. So
Mm.
having people fill out a very quick quiz to enable them to receive one of my free workbooks, bonuses, whatever, and they then become into my email list. So I've been learning how to do all of that as well. And I know that will probably sound quite basic to a lot of your listeners, but when you're changing careers, doing something different, you might not know this stuff. And so I'm going through the process myself so that I can confidently and authentically say to my clients, this is what you need to do. This is what works for me. This is what hasn't worked for me. Try this quiz. It's very relatively low cost, and you will start to have more people have access to your materials, get on your email list, and then you can start speaking to them directly. So that's been kind of a more affordable route to lead generation, as well as the kind of more organic stuff. And I am about to experiment with a couple of adverts as well. We'll see how that goes. But I'm just so passionate about showing up online yourself, you know, showing your
Yeah.
face. People can eyeball you, they can listen to you, they can hear your voice. I think that's a very powerful, and they're the people that are going to invest in you and invest in your business more than people who are just maybe seeing an ad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rachel, it's quite obvious at this point that you spend quite some time thinking about the systems and processes that you need to have in place in order for the company to grow, which I absolutely love to see because if you don't do that, then you're not really in a position to do it, right? I mean, if you don't spend time on it, it's just going to come crashing down, even though the idea of growing and scaling is very attractive to everybody in business. But let me ask you this, considering how much time you've spent putting everything in place, are you trying to eventually create something big and maybe launch your internal teams, whether it is for marketing staff, having some people for sales, fulfillment, having other coaches doing the work? How big of a company is this supposed to be?
I have a grand idea of making something really big, and but keeping it still very personable. So I want to really take BrandHER Edit and make it as the visibility platform for not just midlife women, for any woman who wants to step into their visibility. And so, yes, I do have big plans to really develop that and make that something very big and more of a thought leadership, purpose-led business model, and help women write their stories, help them shape those stories into their personal brand, and then to go out there with whatever business they have and use that as their model behind the personal brand, and being very much founder led in how they create their brand. And so I have big ideas for that. So it was really important for me to systemize things now, even though that was painful. I'm not going to lie, it's a painful part of the process, and you just want to go out there and do the business, get as many clients as you possibly can. But I know and I understand that if you don't have the structure underneath all that and the system and processes behind it, you will very quickly get burnt out. And as women, we are already doing a million things, spinning so many plates. We cannot add more to our plate. Like, we need to make sure that we do things in a very strategic and intentional and aligned way with the energy that we have and what we are trying to achieve. So for me, it was really important to make sure that I took the time to implement the systems and processes right at the beginning, rather than building something really big and then all of a sudden I'm in a mess because I've got too many people that I'm trying to authentically work with, and I haven't got a process to help them with their transformation and the journey that they're trying to go through.
Yeah, absolutely. Rachel, I'm glad that I asked that question and you put it beautifully. And now I'm getting myself ready to ask you something completely else. Obviously, we were just talking about something exciting, and I wanna flip the script for a second here. Because you strike me as someone who is very straightforward. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get an honest answer. And we all
Okay.
know that, like I said at the very beginning of the podcast, or maybe it was a little conversation before we hit record, but I said that the journey in business is never linear, right? So there is always going to be something that you stumble upon, something that you still need to figure out. So I want to know though, like if you think about this kind of growth and what you want to achieve with the company and what this should be, out of everything, what would you expect to really become like the biggest challenge to make that happen?
My own personal confidence and ditching my own imposter syndrome. Because even though I've just written a book about it and I have a framework for it, it still slaps me in the face every single day. I still have imposter thoughts. You're not ready to do that. You're not qualified to do that. You don't know enough people to do that. All of the things, but I have a framework and strategies now around how to deal with that inner critic and how to shut it down very quickly. Whereas in my younger days, when I was in my 20s, it took me a lot longer. So my biggest challenge is dealing with my own imposter syndrome every single day.
Now, talk about honesty. I love it. I love to finish on a bit of wisdom. Rachel, at this point, I'm just going to say thank you so much for taking the time today, sharing this beautiful story with me and the listeners. I really appreciate your time. Now, if anybody wanted to get in touch with you, connect, and perhaps one day even work with you, what is the best way to go about it?
They can reach me on Instagram, Rachel Lawrence UK. They can reach me through my website, rachellawrence.co.uk.
Beautiful. Thank you again. It was a pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Love it. Now, to our listeners, if today's conversation inspired you as well, make sure to subscribe to Founders Future on your favorite platform. And also, if you're a business owner, more specifically a consultant or a coach, or you have an agency and you're trying to scale the business and really enhance both your sales and marketing efforts, also visit closers.io, get in touch with our team, and discover how exactly we scaled our company from 0 to over 30 million per year in less than 3 years. Until then, keep on crushing it, and I'll see you on the next one.